How to prepare for retirement. The question was asked, how can I invest long term, say for 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years? The market goes in cycles. We see here the S&P 500 since 1993 to the year 2013 that we've had bullish cycles, bearish, bullish, bearish, and bullish cycles. So how can I take advantage of this? Bullish cycles last 3 to 5 years, and bearish cycles last about 9 months to 18 months. When we have a cycle such as from 2003 to 2007, we'll get pullbacks somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 15%, typical corrections, and then the trend will resume. But when we're in a bearish cycle, we will normally have pullbacks of 20 to 50%. This would be the ideal time to accumulate assets. Buy at the bottom of these bearish cycles. This chart of gold shows that prices have pulled back to a trend line for the past 8 years numerous times. Gold will have a run for half a year and then pull back. It'll run for half a year and pull back. And right now, gold has fallen below the trend line, and we have to start watching now for a possible opportunity to buy gold. Whenever we have these severe pullbacks like we've had in gold and silver in the past year, we would want to look for signs that the market will finally hit bottom. That would be the time to accumulate an asset for the longer term. Real estate also has its cycles. So since 2003, we see that real estate topped out in 2007. We had the severe correction in 2008 and 9, and currently real estate is in the bullish cycle again. We have minor pullbacks in real estate as we had in 04, 05, and 06. But if we have a severe pullback, that would be the time to accumulate real estate assets for the longer term. There are other basic assets that people need long term and that we can accumulate, such as the transports. The transports include the trucking companies, the rail companies, the shipping companies. Will have minor pullbacks to a trend line, but when we have a severe bear market, as we had in 98, 01, 02, and 08, 09, that would be a time to accumulate transport stocks for the longer term. As we hit the bottom of each of these bearish cycles, that would be a good time to start looking for an opportunity to accumulate the assets and hold them through the next cycle and accumulate more on the next bearish cycle. Another asset class that is totally different than stocks or the metals are bonds. This is the TLT or 20-year bond fund, and at times when price typically drops 5 points below the moving average line, that is a pretty good place to accumulate bonds. The best time to be in bonds is when the market has hit a top of a bullish cycle, as we did in 2000 and again in 2007, 2008. As the government lowers interest rates trying to stimulate business again, the bond paper goes in the opposite direction. Interest rates go very low in a bear market, and the bond paper goes very high. This, at the current time, the market is in a bullish cycle, and we would look for the top of this bullish cycle in order to move into the bond paper. The world has needed oil for a long time and continues to need oil. So when we hit the bottom of these bearish cycles, such as in 02 and again in the bear market of 09, then that would be a good time to accumulate assets that are related to petroleum, such as ExxonMobil. A person could buy at these low point cycles and accumulate shares of ExxonMobil each time that we go into one of these bearish cycles. look for signs where the market might recover and begin buying up and holding shares of this petroleum sector. With the current push toward electric cars, batteries are always needed. JCI is one of the large producers of batteries in America of all sorts and for electric cars. So when we hit these bearish cycles, like we did in 94, like we did in 98, and in the 2002-2003 bearish cycle and the 08-09 bearish cycle, we can begin to accumulate somewhere down here in the $15, $10 range, JCI, the maker of batteries. The world needs coal, so when we also get to the bottom of a bearish cycle, we could begin to accumulate shares of BTU, one of the large coal mining companies. So we see that in the bottom in 02, 03, again in the 08, 09 crash, and currently coal's very low. We would want to accumulate coal when the market itself is bearish, not when the price of coal is bearish, because if the market's going to continue to go up for the next year or so, we would want to wait for the market to collapse again, as it did in 08, 09, before we accumulate these shares and ownership in this coal company. Copper is always needed. It is in almost everything that is related to construction. So again, in the 98 crash, in the 01, 02 crash, the 08, 09 crash, and again, when the market hits bottom again, it would be good to accumulate shares and ownership in FCX, Freeport, one of the world's largest producers of copper. In summary, when we hit the bottom of a bear market, now to recognize the bottom of a bear market, it's going to take at least 2 positive months in a row. We want to go to a monthly chart and look at the market. The S&P 500 is a good bellwether indication of the U.S. economy. We need at least 2 positive months in a row, and then go about 1 or 2% higher than the high of those 2 positive months before we start accumulating shares for the long term. If we buy our assets, our real estate, our shares in a company, contribute to our 401k, when times are the worst and just before we recover, then we can accumulate over a period of time. These cycles, these lows, you notice that we had 98 and we had in early 03 and early 09. When will be the next cycle low? That would be a time to accumulate assets.